Well, hello there everyone, my name is Amy, this is the Opinionated Woman, and welcome to a reading vlog. And it's one of my favorite types of reading vlog. I'm reading South African books again. Hell yeah, it's been a little while since I did like a completely South African based reading vlog, but I have started a reading three authors from three different things sort of series. So now I'm reading three different South African authors from three different genres, and I'm really excited. Two of these authors I got to meet personally, which is really exciting. I will tell you those stories as I get to reading those books, but for now I just wanted to introduce you to the books that I will be reading for this vlog. The first one I'm picking up is All Roads Lead to This by Kay Clare. This is a self-published book that I found out about on TikTok, and it is a romance between a trans boy and his best friend, and they're going on a road trip to fetch rare house plants for their boss. So they're going on a road trip from Cape Town to KZN, and I think it's going to be exploring their feelings for one another, and I'm really hoping there's going to be a only one bed trope at some point. I love that. So basically, romance, gay boys, 10 out of 10. Can't wait. Also from a non-binary author, which is very exciting. Then the second one is The Child by Alistair Mackay. This is on the Book Lounge's shortlist for the best book of the year. I just picked this up very recently. It's my latest book that I picked up. And I'm very excited for this one. This is a contemporary. This is about a man who he has a mental breakdown after losing his job in New York. So he comes back to Cape Town with his husband Adrian, and it's in 2018. So it's during the drought, which I was thinking about recently because like living through the drought in Cape Town was absolutely wild. And they are thinking of adopting a child. And I don't want to know much else besides that because I'm going to read it so soon after picking it up. I've heard the author talk about this book, and I really want to go in as blind as possible. But yeah, very excited to pick this one. This is also from a gay author. And then the third one I actually picked up from the Milnerton Market. I randomly found it at a stall there for like 30 bucks. Was it 30 bucks? 40 bucks. And that's The Shining Girls by Lone Beukes. This is like a thriller that works between time periods. Like there's sort of like time hopping that this killer manages to do. Yet again, it's one of those that I like, as you know, if you see my videos before, I don't like to know too much about the books before I go into them because I don't really want to spoil it. But it's not set in South Africa, but it's written by a South African author. So it says that violent drifter Harper Curtis stumbles upon a house that hides a secret as shocking as his own twisted nature, and it opens onto other times. So Harper uses it to stalk his shining girls across decades and cut the fire out of them. So it's a killer that manages to infiltrate different time zones and kill throughout those time zones. And apparently it's absolutely thrilling. I've heard really good things about it. So this is the last one that I'm going to get into. So I am going to catch up with you when I start All Roads Lead to This. I just saw you digging in the garden. Did you eat a spicy snack? Leela, tell me the truth. Why are you licking your lips? Did you eat a spicy snack? Do not breathe on me if you ate a spicy snack. Spicy snack is code for catch it. The weather said thunderstorms and it was blue skies until like half an hour ago. And now the clouds are coming. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about, oh, wrong way. All roads lead to this because I am 150 pages in and I am loving this. I love queer romances. Queer romances are amazing, especially when there's like really well-written tension, and there is really well-written tension, like moments when they like pause and look at each other and they look at each other's lips and then they go away. You know, I love that shit. It's so good. So we're following Ruben and Cedric, and they work at a plant store, and there are some exotic plants in KZN that their boss needs brought to Cape Town. So Ruben volunteers them to go on a road trip to KZN to fetch the plants and bring them back. So they're going along the coast to get there, and then through like Bloemfontein, etc. on the way back, which is really nice seeing like the different spots that they stop at that are familiar to South Africans. It's like just really cool. So it's a classic like road trip story. Cedric very much has a crush on Ruben and very much knows about it, but Ruben, you can tell, has not like come to terms with his feelings for Cedric yet. Like he's very attached to Cedric. He always has been since they became friends in like grade 6. But I think he is slowly seeing Cedric in a different way, and that's causing some tension. They just had their first overnight stop on their road trip so far, and they've both been like making content of each other, like taking photographs, TikToks, things like that, and they're like seeing themselves through the other person's eyes, which is really cool. Like it's really well written. I'm loving this. I'm loving it a lot. I also wanted to let you know about how I met K Claire. So I started following him when he when I started my TikTok, and I think that's where they were talking about this book, and I'm sure I saw them go into the book lounge and it was there, and I read the synopsis and I like really liked it. I didn't realize it was self-published at the time, which is so cool. Like what a badass thing to do. And then to manage to get into the book lounge, like that's fucking sick. So I've been following them ever since I started TikTok. And then I saw that he was exhibiting, like he was trading at Picnic and Thrift a few weeks ago. And I was going to the Cape Town Silent Book Club, which is at Duval Park, which is right next to where Picnic and Thrift was happening. And I was like, if Kate Claire is there, I'm going to go and I'm going to buy this book. And I went there and I said hi. And I said, I've been following you on TikTok for ages and I've been wanting to get this book. And they said that they recognized me, which was crazy. And then they said that they almost didn't bring their books because they don't sell as often. And I was like, well, I'm really glad you brought them because like that is exactly what I came here to buy. And I also bought one of their Mudeng stickers because if you didn't know, this is their illustration. They drew this and it's fucking beautiful. And like I love the plants. Like every time they mention different types of plants in here, I'm looking it up so that I can learn more about different plants, and I'm just like drooling over them. So yeah, lovely little author connection there, and it's living up to all my expectations. Yes. Only one bed. Only one bed. Yes. Only one bed. I gotta tell you how soothing this little twink is.
Oh, Casey, thank you for those 6 more gift subs. I appreciate that so much.
Thank you for the bits.
Thank you.
That's what he usually says. He's so calming. Let me pause him in his southern drawl. I should be motoring through this book, and I am. But I can't read in the mornings when I've been having bad sleep. And oh my god, have I been having bad sleep. I stopped smoking the devil's lettuce like 3 months ago, and people are like, oh yeah, you'll have bad dreams, or like you'll have problems with your sleep for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Yeah, it turns out that I think the dreams from the subconscious, from all the PTSD, was definitely being suppressed by the smoking. And now that I'm not smoking, my subconscious is playing with me. It's playing with me. So I've taken today off. Luckily I'm freelance, so I can just make that decision. And I'm lying here watching Half Moon Joe. And the medical aid is going to run out quite soon, because it's the middle of November, almost the end of November. So I can't go to a new psych. I see my psychiatrist next week. But I kind of want to go to like a hypnotherapist, because it's like really helped some other people in my life that I know, especially with the subconscious stuff to do with the trauma. So in the new year, so let's hope maybe in the interim my psych can give me something that will help with the sleep, with the dreams, because I get to sleep, it's just the dreams are wild. And then in the new year I can go see a new therapist. That would be nice. But for now I'm just gonna lie here with Half Moon Joe and listen to his calming little Twinkie voice. Look, I finished All Roads Lead to this yesterday, but I'm going to the Cape Town Craft Club, but in the morning this time. And when I booked the one in the morning, I didn't realize, like, I'd been having crazy dreams and stuff, but I didn't realize how bad they were until I booked this, or when I booked this, which is like a month ago. So I slept in by accident. I am going to be on time. I've got like 5 minutes until I need to leave. So I can't update you on the book right now. So let's go to the Cape Town Craft Club first, and then my sibling is selling their work at a studio sale. They're also just leaving now. So we're going to go to that afterwards. Just making coffee, and then I'll chat to you about the book.
Yes, you're that person. Okay, yes, it's amazing.
That with the hope that people who are keen to like make things and we can grow with it.
Last week, they messaged me like, oh, by the way, like, you don't have any dogs, so like, I'm gonna bring some cats instead. I was like,
Oh, it's so cute. That was such a lovely time. I always have the best time at the Cape Town Craft Club, and I have an in for a market that's happening in December that I'm going to message one of the women about. So that's exciting. So let's go to the studio sale. Found another baby. He's 15, very spry. Oh, perfect. Taking a nap. And this is the, say hello. This is the studio thing. Very nice, very nice. Here's Jay's stuff. These are upside down, but you can see. Very popular eel boys. Eel boys are very popular. And then this is there. It's upside down. There we go. Nice, very nice. I'm home. It's been very sweaty. So interestingly, I went into a coffee shop after my sibling packed up their art, and so I'm just like, oh, I just want a coffee shop and a coffee and a pastry. Do you see this logo? Do you understand what this logo means? I didn't click. Also, I'm not up to date on what's legal and what's not legal. So we walk in, And they had normal pastries and normal coffee, so that's cool. But I look to my right, and there are jars and jars of pre-rolls and bud just chilling there. And as I said, I have quit smoking after 7 years of like daily use. So I'm like clean and sober now. And I didn't get any cravings. It was really bizarre that that's just available right now. Like literally there was a thing that said, if you share us on Instagram, you get a free pre-roll. And like past me would have been like, oh my God, this is amazing. Would have grabbed stuff, would have been like, oh my God, I can buy it with my coffee. That's so convenient. And now I'm not that person anymore. And I'm really proud of myself. So yeah, it was a weird thing to encounter, but felt good. So that's cool. While I was at the studio sale, I saw a stall from Oat Milk Club, who is someone that I follow on Instagram, and they had this gorgeous lino cut bookmark that I am going to be using for my next book, because I finished All Roads Lead to This. This was so wonderful, and it's one of those things where like I've met the author, I've started vlogging this, I know that if I make this they're probably going to see it potentially, or they're at least going to see my review. I'm like, what if I don't like it? I don't have to worry about that. This book was freaking great. I don't read a lot of romance. The last romance book I read, the sex scenes were so cringe I had to skip them. These were written absolutely perfectly, and it had the perfect balance of pining and longing with sweetness and with horniness. Like the balance was just like absolutely perfectly timed, and the road trip element going through South Africa was wonderful, and all of the different plants added in. This was so good, and there's a second one in this series that follows other characters that we get introduced to in this, and I am for sure going to pick that up at a market or from their website. I'm going to have to get hold of it. So yeah, next I'm going to pick up The Child by Alistair Mackay. Okay, Alistair. Jesus. So he's talking about when he started to have a breakdown, when he, like, what caused him to go on medication for his mental health. And he said, but I suppose the main obvious thing that happened was that his dad had died. And he says, I don't want to talk about that. Talking doesn't bring anyone back. It doesn't change the fact that he died, and we're all going to die. So what's the point in talking about it? Anyway, I can't blame this on him. We weren't close. We had a very difficult relationship. I'm a fraud for even mentioning it, because I know this isn't grief. Grief doesn't make you afraid all the time. It doesn't make your chest sore. And how can you grieve someone to whom you were so cold? Someone who you could never forgive? If that's not relatable as fuck, I don't know what is. You have me crying. He has me crying by page 32. Bloody hell. So this is how I'm starting my morning. It is early. What did you get? Iced coffee, pasty, and nasty. Nice. It's, what time is it? No. I'm used to it. You got a blackberry one?
I got a blackberry one, and I got a pistachio one.
Nice. And an iced
And
coffee.
iced coffee.
I got a flat white and a pan of chocolat and a pistache. So it's early in the morning. It's 9:30. I'm not usually out of the house at 9:30, but I got up at 7:30. It's really hard when you have bad sleep. I told them about the bad sleep. I had to take my car in for a service. So, and then Jay has a market next week. So they need to get all the boring stuff like packaging for prints and brown bags for like holding the products and all of that fun stuff. So we've decided to treat ourselves to this as a reward for getting up and being adulting. I did a lot of stuff today. I got very tired, very overstimulated. I moved all my articles to tomorrow because it was just not happening. So I wanted to update you on the child for Alistair Mackay. As you saw last night, he had me crying by page 32. So this book is really good so far. I'm on page 85. So we're following our protagonist and his husband Adrian and their pug, and they have just moved to Cape Town. Like, he actually says the street, so I looked it up on Google Maps, and I've parked on that street before to go to garden center. He's right by the Val Park. If you've seen my videos before, if you saw the last book the last video in this series, I went to the Val Park. It's very popular, especially if you have a dog. And he's just come off like a nervous breakdown because he decided to go off his meds. And that's not a very good idea, especially if you don't do it with the guidance of a psych. Like, if you want to go off your meds, do it guided with your mental health professional. Don't do it by yourself. It's very dangerous. So he has this breakdown, loses his visa. They end up coming back to Cape Town, and now they're applying to get a child, to adopt a child. And they're anticipating this, they're going through the process, but at the same time, we're also looking at his mental health, his relationship with his friends around him, his relationship to his domestic worker and the situation that she lives in. We're looking at the drought in Cape Town. Like, the rains have just come back at the part that I've got to. And I remember that day. I remember the day the rains came back, and like the utter relief that we weren't going to get like down to zero in the dams and you'd have to queue for spring water. Like, I was so stressed out about that happening. But luckily the rains came in 2018. So it's very like well put in place. Like, it's just like living in Cape Town, being familiar with Cape Town, and the way that he writes about it, it's very it just like puts you in a space. But this has got a lot to do with his mental health. We go back and we look a little bit into his past, because he has a therapist that asks him, like, what started you on your meds in the first place? And he's like, oh, my dad died, but I don't want to talk about that. He's like, because what can we change? Like, people die. And I'm like, you've got to process this. You've got to talk through it. And it's so clear that he's not working through it, and he's having these panic attacks and like bursts of anger and things like that. So he's really not doing well mentally. And I think he thinks that bringing a child into his life will sort of settle things down, but he's also always wanted to be a child. Like, he looks into his life, always wanted to have a child. He always looks into his life, and the thought of doing that without a child feels very empty to him. But at the same time, he has to grapple with the complexity of doing an interracial adoption, and he wants to learn Xhosa and things like that. But it's just, the writing is like tasty, delicious, beautiful. The writing is absolutely decadent, and I'm scared to read what's coming. I don't know if this is going to end well for him. I don't know any of that. And I know that when Adrian no, 8, no. And I know that when Alistair was talking about this, like when he just starts writing, he doesn't know where it's going to go. And I don't know where this is going to go. And I'm worried for our main character. But it's got me that hooked that I am worried for this fictional character. So, you know, the shit's good. The shit's good. Gorgeous lighting. I'm a professional. You know what's really cool about this book is the way that it frames like what's happening in South Africa at the time. Like I mentioned the drought, but also load shedding, which are rolling timed blackouts. They've been happening. They haven't actually happened in a while since before the election, but they've been happening on and off since I was in high school in like 2008. And like there's an app, like if you're not South African, it's called Eskom se Push, that lets you know like the area that you're in and when your power is going to be out, and you sort of just adjust around this. And he sort of frames the instability that causes, that like tension and instability and the blindiness of just all of a sudden not having power and having to use headlamps and candles and stuff like that. It like really mirrors the instability within himself, like the way that he's feeling. Because I realized this narrator doesn't have a name. When I was trying to talk about it the last time, I tried to find his name. There's no name. I completely he's so well characterized that I didn't even notice that he's an unnamed narrator. But yeah, like the condition of South Africa and the situation that he's now found himself in after coming back from New York is really reflected in the way that the country is doing. So like we see this like really artfully done mirroring, and oh, it's so good. It's so good. I've got like 100 pages left. I've been telling you guys about I finished the book last night, so I will update you when I get home. But I had my appointment with my psychiatrist about the terrible sleep, and she's getting me a recommendation for a hypnotherapist, and we're doing a trial for some more like sedative type meds that I can take in the evening. So I'm at a queso and I'm coming to fetch my script. This queso also happens to be the queso that I was in when I was an inpatient, when I went to the psychiatric hospital for my mental breakdown. So whenever I come, I look up at my bedroom window. That one there, that's where I stayed. I was there for 10 days. It was revolutionary, let me tell you. Okay, so I finally have time. We're sitting down. I finished The Child by Alistair Mackay. This was absolutely wonderful. This had me crying on multiple different occasions. Like, there were just so many relatable parts of it, and his writing is so, like I said, it's just gorgeous writing. Something happened towards the end to do with his domestic worker that I really didn't expect, because he like sort of has this like friendship relationship with her, and things sort of get a little bit blurry, and it's like a really bit of a complicated situation in there, and I didn't expect it. But wow, this character is the king of self-sabotage, and his therapist does point that out. He really does so many things that you're just like, no, please stop, oh my god. But because you're so attached to the character, you like really give a shit about how he's doing, and you want the best for him. And he does get named right at the end, and like I just saw his name and I was like, oh, something about it like just touched my little heart. That is, he got named right at the end. Yeah, this was absolutely excellent. Alistair Mackay is a wonderful writer. Actually, didn't tell you, I met Alistair at an author event at Bertha House. It was for a writer's salon. They were talking about writing in the margins, and it was like 3 queer authors. So I got to meet Mia Ardern, who wrote Mermaid Fillet, which is on my best books of the year so far, and Musani Mushwana, who wrote A Soft Landing, who was also on my favorite list. And I hadn't read Alistair before, so I was like, okay, I'll meet him, I'll get his book, I'll get him to sign it, and then I'll give it a read. And it was so worth it. Like, it was really great hearing him talk about his writing process and his experience as a queer person, and how he goes into books not actually knowing, like, they don't know what themes they're tackling or anything like that, but like the clear, like as a reader you can pick up on these clear themes, but they didn't go in like, okay, I'm going to write a book about this, this and this. He just goes in with the story that he knows he wants to write, or like at least the beginnings of it, and then the world gets created around it. And he's artful, and I will definitely pick up more of his books. So now we're going to get into The Shining Girls by Lauren Beukes. Okay, it's a Sunday. I'm busy building a new bookshelf that's going to go like right here. There's going to be a whole video about that coming soon, so keep your eyes peeled, subscribe if you want to see that. And I have finally started The Shining Girls. I've been in and out of trying to read this because of my sleep schedule and everything like that, you know. I told you about it. I've tried the new meds for 2 days in a row and they did nothing, which is crazy because the doctor told me take it and go straight into bed so that you don't get woozy and fall over. There was no wooziness happening. Anyway, so I'm reading The Shining Girl. So we're following from a couple of different perspectives, but the main one is Harper. And he's a murderer. He's like a serial killer who has found this house where he can go into the house and then exit during different time frames. And he starts getting fixated on these women who he calls his shining girls. And he finds them across time, and they are the girls that he knows that he needs to murder. And then he can quickly just jump into another time zone and not get caught, which is so interesting and so creepy. Like, he goes into this house at one point, and like the first time he enters the house, there's a dead body in the hallway that he takes a really long time to actually sort out, and the dead body's holding a frozen turkey. And at one point, when the body's been there for a few days, he takes the turkey out of its arms and then cooks it. It does not cooks the dead body, cooks the turkey and eats it after it's been hugged by a corpse for a few days. It was disgusting. Also, the main, like, we get flashes of the woman that he's going to kill. Like, we get like it leading up to him killing them. One of the women is a stripper who paints herself in radium. So this is like in the 30s. It's like right around where the Radium Girls sort of trial happened. So that she can glow while she's completely naked, which is really interesting. And we follow Kirby, who this guy meets when she's a child, and he identifies her as one of his shining girls. But he needs to wait until she's older. And now she's come to a journalist and been like, you reported on my murder. So it was like an attempted murder that she actually survived. And she's determined to try and get someone to help her to try to figure out who did this. So it's really compelling. I'm on page 93. So I am getting through this quite quickly. There's only a 300-page book. But yeah, very creepy, great vibe so far. This book is really compellingly written. The shortness of the chapters makes it really pacey, and it's very ominous. Like the chapters that Harper's in, like whenever he interacts with women and he identifies which one is one of his shining girls, and you're like, oh God, like you basically know that every single one of them is going to die except Kirby. We don't know too much detail about what happened to Kirby. I'm presuming we're going to see it from his point of view at some point. But because he does it through time, I'm really intrigued as to how the hell they're going to catch him. It's very intriguing. It's not just like a normal case where they can just catch the man because of his MO and stuff like that. First of all, like a lot of his murders are happening in the like 30s and 50s, where like DNA and stuff like that is like garbage or non-existent. But yeah, it just adds this really like spooky, ominous edge to it. Very good. Before I wrap this vlog up, Spotify Wrapped is out, so I wanted to show you mine. Some people love to see these because they're so interesting to see what other people listen to. I'm one of those people, so I'm going to include it. So here's my Spotify Wrapped. I've got my laptop here for me to look at, because obviously there is not a floating thing here. I added that in post. So my top artist was Fletcher, followed by, which makes sense, she came up with an album this year. Followed by Peach PRC, another gay classic. Conan Gray, also gay classic. Chapel Roan, very expected, gay classic. And then number 5 is fucking Taylor Swift. And I don't understand how that happened, because there are 2 songs of hers in my top 100. And I barely listened to her this year. Like, I went out of my way to skip songs of hers this year because I'm kind of sick of her and I hated her latest album. But I listened to Rachel Chineriri freaking non-stop this year. I've listened to her album from beginning to end multiple times, yet Rachel Chineriri is not on this list. I'm so confused, and I swear Taylor Swift has some kind of in where she is pushed onto things where she shouldn't be pushed, because there is not a chance in hell Taylor Swift should be on my Spotify Wrapped. So annoying. But anyway, moving on. My top song was Lunch by Billie Eilish, because I'm a homo. Then Lead Me On by Fletcher, because again, homosexual. Secret by Peach PRC, a lesbian. Loved You Before by Peach PRC, because sapphic. And Hot to Go, because gay pop girly. So that was my Spotify Wrapped. I listened to way less music this year because I had less freelance work, and I listen to more music when I'm doing freelance work. So hopefully next year there'll be more music and less Taylor Swift. So let's lead me on. Like the song. To me finishing up this vlog. Through the bad sleep, all through the crocheting like a crazy woman because I got my first market coming, I finished The Shining Girls by Lauren Beukes, and this was really excellent. Like, the way that we just jump around through time and he's just causing so much havoc, and you're like, the police are not going to be able to find him because he exists outside of time. It was really, really compelling. It just had me flipping those pages like crazy. The ending was like really tense and like thrilling, like absolutely thrilling. It leaves a slightly open ending in a way that I'm like, okay, Lauren Beukes, okay, cool, nifty, because she could have tied it up in a shiny little bow, but she chose not to, and I kind of respect that, because too many of these books tie things up in a shiny little bow, you know. But I thought the way that all the little intricate pieces came together was absolutely excellent. So that is the end of my South African reading vlog. I read 3 great books. I enjoyed all of them. I love when this happens. I think I just choose my books very well when it comes to these reading 3 books in 3 different blah blah in 3 different blah blahs. I think I've just become really good at picking books that I know that I'm going to enjoy. And these are authors that I've been hyping up for a long time, and they really lived up to the hype, and they're authors that I'm going to keep on reading from. So yeah, what a good old reading vlog. If you want to see my crochet creations, my links are down below, along with my Kofi link, which is a one-time tip jar if you ever want to support my channel. My Instagram and my TikTok are also down there if you want some more content from me. But other than that, like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff, and I'll check you next time.